an older rose, so it has a lot of older growth. And you can tell the older growth from new growth, because new growth would be more green and also smaller in diameter, and the old growth is more gray or deep brown. I am going to take this entire branch out. It goes up through all of this good green new growth. So I'm going to sacrifice some bloom up here so that I can encourage the newer growth to branch out. Now, I could try to come in here with my lopper, but when you're working with your tools, if you are struggling at all with one tool, like this lopper, if you can't get it in there, or if you're trying to push too hard and it's not cutting through it, then you're either using it incorrectly or you need to bump up to the next tool, which in this case would be the saw. So I'm going to use a saw to remove this entire branch. But I'm trying to keep this nice new growth, because if I prune to this bud, this will branch this way and fill in this hole. So here we go. We're going to try to do this without damaging. I'm sawing at a little bit of an angle, so rainwater and mist will roll away from the other branch that I'm keeping here. Now, when you get to this point, it's getting harder to saw through it. You can push on what you're trying to remove, push on the stem, push it open. See how it opened up where my saw is? And that will make it easier to finish sawing. And then when I get to the point where it's almost sawed through, I can go a little bit, finesse it out of there. Very good. There we go. Without breaking the good stuff. Sometimes, instead of pulling it through, go ahead and cut it out. See that? That's much easier. I wanted to keep this stem and prune it here so that this would branch out here. But do you see how it's laying on this old stem here? So in this case, I want to keep this. So I'm not going to prune this all the way down to get it out of the way of this one. So I'm just going to do a thinning cut and take it out and sacrifice that stem. Hate to do it, but we want to free up the middle here. I'm going to prune out some dead stems, and again I'm using the cutting edge closest to the stem because I want a nice clean flush cut there. I'm going to turn my pruner over because now I'm on the left side of this one, and I'm using the back of the jaw, because to use the tip, I might have to struggle a little bit. So I use the back of the jaw. The less you struggle, the cleaner the cuts are going to be. Now my next cut here is going to be right here. And I'm going to do a thinning cut on that one also, because that was dead. So I'm getting all this dead out of here first so I can see what's going on. This rose, this hybrid tea rose, is fairly stressed because it didn't get the summer water that it would have liked. So there's a lot of branches like this one here that just, it doesn't look all that healthy. And up here, a lot of this is dead and diseased and scrawny. It has tiny stems. So I'm actually going to do what's called a heading cut on this all the way down to here. And I'm going to prune right above this bump in the stem because there might be some dormant nodes in here that will come to life if I prune right above this. I could do a thinning cut and take it out completely from its origin down here. That would be the thinning cut. But I'm going to do a heading cut. I can always cut more later in the season, but I want to see if I cut here, if I can get some new branching to fill in this bare spot. And I think I'm going to use my lopper for this. Not the healthiest looking. This is a good example for you to see. If the inside looks like this, it would be wise to go cut farther down. So we may lose this whole section anyway, because this could be some disease, and we want to cut that out. Now, that being said, some roses will continue to flower well for you, even though the whole thing is diseased. So remember, you're cutting out dead, damaged, diseased, and crossing branches. But with some roses, if you cut out all the diseased wood, you would not have a rose left. But in this case, I'm going to spray my pruners with alcohol, and then I'm going to do a final cut here. I cleaned the pruners so that if that is some sort of disease, that I'm not carrying it down to the final cut. So my pruners are clean now, and I'm just going to give it a good cut. Well, that's still not looking really healthy. But in this case, I don't want to cut this entire piece off of this rose today, so I'm just going to leave it for now. Do you see how this rose is looking better already? It's opened up. It would, even if I stopped right here, it would have better air circulation. But we want to do pruning cuts to lower the stems so that it bushes out. The new growth starts low in the canopy. And I'm going to continue on cutting out the dead. So this one's dead. And then I'm looking at smaller than a pencil. Here's one that's smaller than a pencil. This is also, and see how I flipped my pruner over? I pruned this way to get a flush cut. Now I'm turning it over to get a flush cut on this tiny one, smaller than a pencil in diameter. So I'm going to continue on now without talking too much, and I'm going to prune the rest of this rose.